Good morning and welcome to Good News for today, December the 11th, 2023. And my name's Tim,
My name is Nikki.
and we're going to read a strange little portion of scripture. It seems a little bit strange from Matthew 22, verses 23 to 33. And Nikki's going to read that now from the New International Version.
This is a story about the Sadducees. They were sad, you see, because they did not believe in the resurrection. That was not part of the Bible, so I'll start on verse 23. That same day, the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him with a question. Teacher, they said, Moses told us that if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for him. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first one married and died, and since he had no children, he left his wife to his brother. The same thing happened to the second and third, right on to the 7th. Finally, the woman died. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the 7, since all of them were married to her? Jesus replied, You are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like angels in heaven. But about the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what God said to you? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. When the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. And now Tim's going to find some good news in that.
All right. That's quite a challenge, isn't it? This question, well, the Sadducees were, since they didn't believe in the resurrection, were trying to trick Jesus into dealing with a dilemma. How do you account for this? 7 guys married to the same woman in the resurrection. Whose wife will she be? I'm reminded when I read this story of my dad. My dad worked in a factory in Owen Sound here, the RCA Victor factory, which at the time made furniture for stereo systems when stereos were pieces of furniture. And anyway, he used to come home and tell me about discussions he'd had with guys at the factory. And one time he came home and said they asked him these questions that would try to stump him. And the one question they asked him was, if you believe that God can do anything, then can God fill a wheelbarrow so full that he can't lift it? And that was a puzzle. Of course, I think Dad saw through that one, but just the same, it is one of those questions that seems to be put you on the horns of a dilemma. They were asking this of Jesus, and Jesus gave answers that were pretty astute. But just very briefly in my looking at this, I was reminded of a couple of verses in the Bible, and it's good when we're reading the Bible to look for other pieces of advice in the Bible that speak to a certain issue or whatever, and take the whole thing as a whole. So one such verse that I read that I was reminded of is in 2 Timothy 2 verse 23. 2 verse 23 says, "Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments, because you know they produce quarrels." And another place in the Bible, in Titus 3 verse 9, it says, Paul advises Titus to avoid foolish controversies and genealogies and arguments and quarrels about the law, because these are unprofitable and useless. So I'm not sure that I have any more to say about that. It's an interesting little scenario where the Sadducees were trying to trip Jesus up. Jesus did say, there was not just another thought, by the way. If the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection, then what's the point? Who cares if there were 7 widowers and 1 widow, and it all happened in this lifetime, and there is no resurrection. They said, and that's another verse that reminds me, that I'm reminded of, where it says in the Bible, if in this life only we have, what is it? If in this life only we have hope of the resurrection, we are of all men most miserable. I think it's something like that. Maybe I've wandered
Sounds
on
good.
too long.
Sounds good. I'm going to close.
Okay.
I'm reading from Lamentation. I found a verse that I thought was appropriate. These are tough times in our church right now, but we still have hope. And because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So we focus on God's faithfulness. We might not always understand exactly what is meant by the words in the Bible, but we can trust in God's love and his faithfulness. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you again in the new year.
Yes,
God bless.
I know.